Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a super great day. I'm playing around in Topaz Studio today, and I'm having a little bit of fun, and that's one of the things I like about the app. It causes me to think a little bit differently, get creative, and have fun, and I think that's a big thing that I like, not just about the app, but about photography. I think you ought to be having fun. And so I've got a street scene photo. Here's the photo. I took this in Prague, and this is it's a snapshot, right? I take a lot of these. I've said this before. I'm just traveling somewhere and I like the look of a place and I just capture a photo, and I don't necessarily take it with the intent that, oh, I got to do something with it or it's going to be a great shot. I mean, obviously this is just a street. But I like the gentle kind of curve of that street. I like that one car. I like the buildings in the background, but it needs a lot of work. And honestly, it wasn't until I got in Topaz Studio that I even thought I could do anything with it. And that's because I think Studio, I mean, it has so many interesting filters, artistic stuff, and different things that you can do. It causes me to creatively sort of think outside the box and do things differently, which I like. So it kind of stretches my brain. So I started with that and I ended with that. So very different. As you can see, I've got a massive stack of filters over here, which is really just Jim Super Undecided. But I'm having fun with it, and I thought I'd share some tips and tricks here and walk through what I did. So let me reset these, and we'll get into that right now. Okay, apart from the obvious crop that I did, I haven't done anything else to the photo. So my first step is basic adjustment, which was clarity, shadows and highlights, and a tiny bit of color adjustment. Pretty minor stuff. Here's the before, there's the after. So really nothing major there. It's just kind of as the name implies on the filter, a basic adjustment. I like this scene. I like the colors in the background. I like the shape of the street with the car. I think I said that already. But it's just kind of boring. So I just started playing around. I went into this with no plan, just to be clear. And that's part of the point of this video is you don't have to have a plan. Sometimes it's fine. In fact, every time it's fine just to go in and start messing around. My thinking was, I got a photo that's, kind of nothing, and can I turn it into something, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So, it's not an amazing photo to start with, and so I'm not expecting to have some masterpiece at the end, but, that's one of the things I like about Studio is I get in there and I start saying, well, can I do this? I wonder if I tried this, that sort of thing, and I bounce around with a lot of filters, as you can see, and sometimes I come up with something that I think is kind of interesting, such as today. So, precision detail, and I'm going to jump through some of these. Precision detail, I just turned that up a tiny bit, just like in the medium details, I think. Medium detail boost. And then precision contrast, I bumped that quite a bit, as you're going to see here. Gets kind of contrasty, shadowy, and kind of richer. And truthfully, I didn't really like that look, but I did it anyway, just playing around. But I wasn't really liking the colors, so I jumped into quad tone, and a strength there of 35. So I just use the standard default settings. I find that they work fairly well on a lot of photos to get me kind of in the blue realm. It's not perfect, but as you can see, the blacks and shadows are in the darker kind of bluer realm, and there's a lot of that in this photo. So I just went with it. And so then I was like, all right, I got to do something more interesting or fun or different. I can't just play with color and detail and contrast and come up with anything that's really worth a spit. So I said, I'll get focal blur. I'll blur some things out. So I did that. So if you've ever used this filter, once you click on it, you get this big box. And of course, I want the car to be in focus. I think that's obvious. And what I initially did is you can grab these little things and you can shrink it. And I shrunk it down and I was something like that. And I was like, all right, the car's in focus. That's awesome. However, what I like about the photo is that shape of the street, that kind of S-curve. So I wanted more of that to be in focus, so I made this larger. But the other thing I thought about was when you have an object like a car, or it could be an animal or a human or whatever, you want to leave some space in front of them for them to move. And in this case, I wanted to scoot this over like that because it's the S-curve that I like, and that's also where the car is going to go. And I think kind of mentally, your eyes are going to say, well, if it's all blurry there, they're going to say, well, it's kind of blurry. It's just too abrupt. Whereas this looks like, okay, you want the driver to have clarity and be able to drive, and you want that kind of part of the road to be clear. So I'm getting a little philosophical, but that was my thinking there. Because when I'm like that, it's equally clear on the left and the right side of that taxi. But I don't really care about the left side. what I care about is the right side, because that's where they're going to be driving, the right side from where we're looking, left side for the driver of the car. But I want that road to be clearer, and I don't care what's on the left. So that was why I expanded that a little bit and scooted it over. So something to think about, just to give them, I think it gives your viewer a clue that, okay, the car is probably going to drive there and it's clear, so it's okay to drive. Just a thought. Next up was Abstraction, and I applied this one kind of gently, 21, and then I took the opacity down, but I also applied it with a spot mask, as you can see here. So I just clicked on spot and I put it right in that same kind of area where I had the focal blur removed from. So kind of that core area around the taxi and kind of a little bit of that street. And Abstraction is basically the old Topaz Simplify. So it just removes a lot of detail. So I wanted to do that to kind of declutter that background. It's a little bit busy. There was a lot of detail, partly from what I did earlier with the heavy contrast and detail application. But I'm softening that up, but I want to keep that taxi clear, hence the spot mask. So that was Abstraction. And then I added a color theme, which created a little bit of a pink. I liked it that it brightened up the photo, but I didn't really love the color. So then I just went into basic adjustment, and I took the temperature more to the yellow. Let me find it. Yeah, I took temperature over here to warm it up. And that was just to kind of counteract some of what happened with color theme. I liked a little bit about color theme, but it was a little too much, so I added some warmth back with basic adjustment. At this point, I was like, all right, I still kind of like it. I don't love it, but I kind of like it. It's definitely, I'm finding it more interesting than when I started with, which was original. Here we go, which was that. So, you know, a little too pink. I'm kind of liking it. So I was like, I'm going to keep playing. So Radiance was next, and once again, this was a light application of Radiance, strength of 7 and opacity of 35. So if you aren't familiar with Radiance, you know, it basically, as the symbol implies, it's got that little lightning bolt. It basically kind of electrifies all the lines, so it makes them look like they're running with electricity. It's very cool. It's something that I would use sparingly, if at all. And in this case, I used it very sparingly. 7 on the strength, and 35 in the opacity. So I took that down, and then once again, I applied a spot mask. You just click here, stick your mask, click wherever you want the mask to be removed from, and it creates a spot. So the radiance adjustment is being applied outside of that spot. So again, similar idea. I kept it kind of clear in that center area around the car and allowed the radiance very gently to apply to the rest. All it's really doing in this case is slightly removing some detail. There's before radiance, and let me make sure I click the filter, and there's after radiance. So you can see it's just softening up the detail. Again, I'm just kind of separating my subject, which is the taxi, and that slice of the road from the rest of the photo, from the background that is. Next was a vignette, pretty simple stuff, pretty cool. I kind of kept it centered because, again, the center is kind of where the car is going to be driving. So it's a little, like the taxi is kind of close to the edge where the vignette's kind of starting. It didn't bother me. Like, I didn't want to center the vignette on the car because the car is going to drive kind of to the center of the frame. So that's where the center of the vignette is. Again, I'm adding light in the center, and it's kind of clear there because I haven't added the focal blur and that sort of stuff. And that's where the car is going to drive. So I'm just kind of, I'm leading the viewer, if you will, is the best way of putting it. Next was a gentle S-curve. All that did is add some contrast. Next was a basic adjustment, which was just adding a little bit more warmth. And then I sat on it for a day or so here, and I like it quite a bit from where I came from. Again, you know, not accounting for the crop, but that's what I started with. And turn that off. And that's where I am. I think it's come a long way. But after I sat on it a little bit earlier tonight, I got on there and I was like, I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to add a look. So I went into add look, and I'm still sorted by this. Category of artistic and sorted by impression. And at the very bottom is this watercolor 2. That's what I chose. I just stuck it on and just applied it to the photo, and then voila, I was done. So that was it, really. So, I mean, I don't know how many filters that is. That's like 10 or 12 filters plus a look at the end. But I think I came a long way, and I started with that. Ho-hum, kind of afternoon in Prague. You know, interesting scene to me visually. I like streets. I like lines. I like kind of the shape and color of the stuff in the background. I love the shape of the street. I love the one taxi just kind of looking like it's just taken off and coming this way. But, it's just a snapshot. There's nothing spectacular about the photo. And that's my final result. And again, there's nothing spectacular about it. I'm not saying, look at my amazing photo, because I don't think it's amazing. But I definitely find it more visually interesting. But most importantly, I just kind of wanted to talk about sticking with it, throwing things at it that may not be what you would think to throw at it, like Simplify to declutter a busy cityscape, or Radiance to declutter a busy cityscape, and just mask those in, things like that. Stacking, how many times did I use basic adjustment? 3 times I used basic adjustment, just playing with the temperature mostly. And the tint, stuck a look on at the end. There's a lot of flexibility and stuff you can do in Studio, which is why I love it. And honestly, in other products, I would never come up with this kind of final result. I like it. And to be honest, I don't know that I'm done. I might go play with it some more. I just kind of like playing with things, as you can probably tell. But I definitely think I came a long way. I did a few things that allowed me to kind of isolate the subject and kind of tell a little bit of a story. To me, the original is busy background, empty foreground. So I kind of get, all right, the car's coming this way and there's a shape in the road, but I'm kind of distracted by the background. And now I'm less distracted by the background because it's kind of blurry. I've added a blur, I've added Radiance, and I've added Simplify to declutter all that. But I'm a little bit, now that I'm looking at it, a little bit distracted by the color. It's a little too bright in the background. I might go change that. Anyway, I could be here forever. You have better things to do. My point was, I just wanted to show you, you can take ho-hum photos, take something that you might consider kind of a nothing photo, a throwaway, and turn it into something that has a bit more visual interest. It's not a great photo. My end result is not amazing. I like it. I find it more interesting than what I started with, but I'm not trying to tell you this is amazing. What I am trying to tell you is, just get in there and play around. Do stuff, try stuff, experiment, have fun. You might end up with something that you find interesting, and that ought to be enough, right? So I hope that this is helpful. If nothing else, maybe you learned something or picked up a tip here or there. And I'm always open to feedback, comments, and interaction with you guys. So love for you to leave comments and that sort of thing down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. If you would, helps get more people visibility to my channel, which I appreciate very much. So thanks for watching, my friends and my dear viewers. I will see you soon. Have a great day. Take care, and adios.